Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of the URC. It is the last match of round 16 and it is Ulster taking on the Sharks. Now, there have been quite a few changes to the table. This is what it sat like at the start of this round, but since then, I've got the updated table here. At the moment, it is Leinster, Glasgow, Bulls, Sharks, and then Cardiff as number 5. The Stormers have moved up to number 6 on 45 points. Scarlets getting a massive win over Leinster to move up to 43. Benetton on 41, Munster on 41, Edinburgh on 39, and the Ospreys on 38. Also alongside that, Ulster stay on 37. Lions are on 35 after their victory a little bit earlier on today. So quite a few changes, but it just shows once again how close this competition currently is. Looking through at the starting lineups for these two sides. First of all, for Ulster, they have got Warwick in the front row alongside Rob Herring and Tom O'Toole as the number 3. It has O'Connor at 4 and Cormac as the Chukwu as the 5. Matty Rea at 6, Timoney at 7 and McNabney as the number 8. Doak and Murphy in the 9-10 combination. McCloskey alongside Postlethwaite. Hopefully I've said his name, or Postlethwaite, I think it is, at 13. Ward out on one wing. Of course, some people will know him from the 7 setup. Werner Koch, I mean, he was back in the 7s circuit a while ago, but now, of course, did play a bit for the Sharks. And then Stockdale as the number 15. In terms of the Sharks starting lineup, once again, an extremely strong side taken to the field. Ox Nishat alongside Bongi Umbanumbi and Vincent Koch as the front row. Eben Etzebeth in the number 4 jersey. He was fired up last week, and I feel like maybe that was just what he wanted, to get all fired up, find his feet again after a long injury layoff. Hopefully has a big game here alongside Jason Jenkins in that locking duo. James Fenter at number 6, Vincent Tshulka number 7, and Sia Khaleesi is there as the number 8. The two Hendrickses in the 19 combination, Jaden and Jordan. Andre Esterhazen alongside Lukan Yuam in the middle. Then Makazole Mapimpi, Ethan Hooker, and Apalele Fasi make up the back 3. Looking at the comments, we have got, as an Ulster fan, not looking forward to this. The Sharks are loaded. Says Geza, yeah, the biggest advantage that Ulster have for this game is the fact that they're at home. But this Sharks side, like you've said, they are stacked from start to finish, and they were able to get themselves the big win last week. It was a close game, but still managing to win it nonetheless. We will show it here. As you can see, up against Edinburgh, winning by 1 point, 18 points to the 17. The week prior to that, or 2 weeks prior, in fact, they were beaten in the Challenge Cup round of 16 up against Lyon. That just gave them a little bit more rest time. And it's a bit the same with that game on the 19th. It's been 2 weeks since they've played. They come in as the favourites. But Ulster, this is now a very important stage of the season for them. They need to start winning from here on out. They do want a chance of qualifying. Their last game was up against Leinster. That did happen last week. They were defeated 41 points to 17. And then in the last round of, or the 16 round of the Champions Cup, they were defeated by Bordeaux, 43 points to 31. In terms of the benches for these two sides, for Ulster, they've got Stuart, Reid and Wilson as the front row replacements. Dalton and Kieran Treadwell there at number 20. Shanahan as the number 21. Aidan Morgan at 22. Some people will know him from his days at the Hurricanes. And then McCann as the number 23 for the Sharks. They had a stacked starting lineup, so they might as well have a stacked bench as well. Sia Masuku, Jorenzo Julius as their Pepsi Buthelezi, Emmanuel Tichuka, and Fezambata, Machunu, and Jacobs as the front row replacements. We have got a new member on the channel as well. Thank you very much, Giza. Greatly appreciated for your generosity. You now have access to those emojis in the chat, so be sure to use them. The Stormers' best performance of the season. If the Stormers can perform this weekend, or perform like this week in, week out, goodness, what might happen, says Mornay Lagrange. Yeah, they may relive that opening season of the URC. No side has been able to win it twice as of yet. So that'll be something, of course, the Stormers are trying to eye up. We've got Hi All and Hamish. Welcome in. Robert V. And hi again, everyone. Finally, the game I've been waiting for all weekend. Let's go the Sharks, says Lilia. And yeah, it is the last match of the weekend that we are covering as well. It has taken a little while to get here. We have done probably about 13 or so hours of streaming since 4:30 in the afternoon yesterday, New Zealand time. We're now 14 hours later, and we are 5 minutes away from the kickoff quarterfinal between the Sharks versus the Stormers. Going to be great. Says Eric. So Sharks and Stormers, you're saying, going to be playing each other. So is that 4 versus 5, or is that 3 versus 6? Out of curiosity, Eric. I assume it's 4 versus 5, which would bring a couple more victories for the Stormers in the very near future. But yeah, already a couple upsets throughout this round. Did you hear anything of the Leinster game? Yes, Scarlets won up against a Leinster. Some have called it the Leinster D team, but the Scarlets still able to get themselves the victory, 35 points to 22. So they do move themselves into a much better position now, Scarlets. And it's actually, I said about it before, it's benefited them the fact that Leinster are concentrated on the Champions Cup, because it means that the Scarlets have got to win that. If Leinster had gone with their strongest team, I don't know if they would have been able to get. But they move up to 7th for now. Benetton are just below them on 8th. Ulster find themselves in 12th, but if they were to win this game, with the amount of wins that they've had, they would actually move up to, I believe, 10th. If they were to win it with a bonus point, they would actually move into the top 8. So that is something to think about for Ulster. For the Sharks, there is no way of them catching the Bulls just from this round, but 2 big wins in a row could get them in the right direction. They are, at the moment, the one of 2 sides to only play the 15, irrespective of the result. If the Sharks do not choke last 2 games, then we end 4th. Stormers also 2 victories. They'll end 4th or 5th, says Eric. So yeah, it does seem like it is relatively likely that 2 South African sides could play off in an upcoming game, because we've also got to remember, let's just say the Stormers, they finish 6th. Then more than likely they'll face the Bulls, if the Bulls are the team in 3rd, or maybe if a team finishes in 7th, maybe the Stormers have a loss next week, something along those lines, then you start to, remuddle. Of course, not next week, but the weekend after that. So yeah, a lot of intriguingness coming from these last couple of rounds, right up until the final moments, where we will get our quarter finals confirmed. We have got Hi Kiwi Lads, says Kipcock, welcome in. We are doing extremely well. Hope you're excited for this game. Of course, do let me know your score predictions in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. It should be an outstanding contest, or at least I really hope that it is. Because, of course, if it is, we're going to be very happy. We've already had 2, I would say, very different games. We had the first match between Connacht and the Lions. That game had a lot of scrums, a lot of stoppages, a lot of TMO involvement, and neither side were really able to find their rhythm. We had that Stormers versus Benetton game where the Stormers were just on another level and just kept on going. And then now we've got this game, which hopefully will be a little bit of a mixture of both. I say Sharks 34, Ulster 26. Says Kip there. And also, what's the weather like? Looks like a nice evening. A little bit of sun shining at the moment. I'm backing Ulster tonight. Says George, and Leinster loss means they could field a stronger team last round, which will help the Bulls to end 2nd. Says Eric. And Sharks 32 to Ulster 17. Says Lilia B. And let's go boys, Sharks need to deliver. Says Tyrone. And there as well. But I'm looking forward to seeing this back 3 for Ulster. Zach Ward, Werner Koch, and Jacob Stockdale. Not exactly a bad 3 to have at the back, but then you look at across from them. Makazole Mapimpi, Ethan Hooker, Apalele Fasi. The Sharks side is insane at the moment in terms of who they can select week in, week out. And the fact that they are inside of that top 8, they're going to be a danger for whoever faces them. Definitely if they play them in Durban, they can be an optimistic for Ulster. Says Geza there. And come on, the Sharks, says Sakabula, Hi Kiwi Lad, enjoying the South Africa team win. Sasha's something else, isn't he? He was very impressive and had 2 great games in a row at the moment. So hopefully he can continue that right through to the end of the comp. Because if he keeps playing like that, and the Stormers, in terms of just what they were able to do their last couple of matches, if they continue playing like they did, they're going to be very hard to beat. That is for sure. But it is kids round at the moment. So we do see 2 kids whacking each other with the flags. So that is nice. We have got I'm watching the game for free, but also listening to Hamish. Says Rory, but now Sia Khaleesi makes his way out of the tunnel, leading out the Shark side. Which will then be closely followed by Ulster. Hope the Sharks turn up tonight. Safa clean sweep. Says Sakaball and Leinster probably only concentrate on the Champions Cup semi-finals next weekend. Correct. They are looking firmly at that game up against the Northampton Saints, and they want to continue that bit of dominance that they have created in that competition. Last 2 games, 114 points, not conceding a single try. Now, I do think Northampton will give them more of a challenge than that, but there is also a chance that if they play like they have been, could be quite one-sided. Making their way out onto the field now, I believe it is Rob Herring who will be leading the side out onto the park. So Ulster crowd have turned up in numbers to see this matchup. Werner Koch going head-to-head with his old side. They're at home, so I factored that in. Says Lilia. I will also mention, with only 2 rounds to go, these are the matches that these 2 sides do have coming up. Munster versus Ulster in 2 weeks' time. Then they play Edinburgh. 2 away games in a row for Ulster. So it is so important that they get the win here to help make that road that little bit easier for the Sharks. They have got 2 home games up against 2 Welsh sides, Ospreys and Scarlet. So I believe they are switching with, I think it's Stormers, who have got those 2 opposition, or it might have been the Lions. I know it was someone today anyway that have got 2 of those games in a row, and they've pretty much just switched them in terms of when they are taking place. And we have got there. Did you see the result between England and France? Women France got to within a point of them. A nice women's World Cup Women's World Cup is heating up nicely. Yeah, I did hear that it was a 1-point game, which is fantastic, seeing as both sides were undefeated up to that stage. I've got what's the problem with Williams. I believe injured at the moment, Grant Williams, or at least from what I've gathered, I think that he's got some sort of injury here. I don't think it's anything personal against him from the coach. And Traitor says on the right, we have got there, yeah, but it will be, was really close, which is exactly what you want. So, you're in that scenario now. If those 2 sides meet in the Women's World Cup, it's going to be great, because everyone will know that most recent fixture. Semi-finals in the Champions Cup will be tough. Northampton will be no pushover. Says Mornay, but we got the round of applause at the moment going around the ground. And we are just about to get underway. Trader for referring to Werner Koch, not you. Says on the right, and Hamish Riceman here. What was the score at the Bulls? So the Bulls matchup, they were able to get themselves to win 26 points to 19. So at the moment, we've seen 3 wins from 3 for South African sides, and they would absolutely love the clean sweep here. 2 home wins, 1 away so far. And now the Sharks, they are going to be kicking off this one from right to left. Ben Whitehouse, the referee in charge, with Keith David as the TV match official. And love it, another 1-pointer going against France, says Sakabola. Now, Sharks with Jordan Hendrickse. We are just about ready, and the last game of our 6-game marathon now gets underway, ladies and gentlemen. Nicely taken by Ulster inside of the 22. I have no idea how my voice is still not completely broken at this point. I think just a couple drinks of H2O have done the job. Currently inside of their own 22 and rolling this one back for, I believe it will be Doak. He's asking whether or not the Chuka was offside. Referee says keep going. It's going to find touch, and it will be the line out. Grant has a neck injury, says Lilia B. And that game against Munster will be very interesting after that result yesterday, says Geza. Yeah, they also had a close game. In fact, all those games on that first day of URC rugby for this week were very close, all split within 7. A whiplash from running too fast, says Rory. Oh, my apologies. They've actually made a change here. No Etzebeth in this contest. They've actually just said Emmanuel Tachuka going to be in the starting locking duo. So it is a big hit to lose that man late just before kickoff. And you wonder whether or not that is something to do with his pre-existing injury that he did have to play last week. But that's a big concern. And what a result for the Scarlets. Why was I an unbeliever? Says Flesh, and yeah, they managed to get a good win. That's a nice bit of skill there from Lucanio, who might have just hurt his shoulder in the process of trying to score it. It looks like Murphy has got back to be able to cover it. Could have been a really ugly one there. The charge down from Lucanio. How serious is Eric? No, Etzebeth, geez, is he going to make 2027 World Cup? I know a lot of people are hoping so. Some people will even be wondering if he's going to make it to the July internationals at the moment. There were rumours of a retirement, which I think he brushed off, but with him being absent here, I'm not sure whether or not it is down to those concussions or whether it is another injury that maybe snuck in beforehand. Sadly, they didn't give us much of the build-up here in New Zealand, only like 2 minutes where they talked about the lineup. Now Jaden Hendricks, they're trying to get the not rolling away penalty against Postlethwaite, but they don't end up receiving it. Jordan Hendricks are now rolling this ball back again. Looks like they will go for another box kick. They have been told to use it, so Jaden Hendricks puts it on Ethan Hooker. Chasing after this. Manages to claim it nicely. No info on the extent of the injury. There's Lilia B going off to the left-hand side. Bit of a cross kick attempted, and it does go into touch. Will now be the line out. Looked like it was a little bit too flat there. The kick of Lucanio Arm. This pitch 4 or 5G. I'm not actually too sure if I'm honest with you. It definitely looks like some sort of artificial turf though, but doesn't look awful from what we've seen so far. In fact, the way that it's mown, it might even be real grass. Though it looks way too pristine, so it's got to be some sort of AstroTurf, I would think. Now trying to get that rolling maul going here. And there is the advantage in favour of Ulster. Doak goes across, good tackle attempted on McCloskey, but he still manages to break through. Doak tries the cross kick, bit of a deflection. And they will go back for the original advantage. Already 3 minutes into this contest, and it looks like another injury here. Jacob Stockdale, Upper Fussy, just giving him a bit of a tap on the back as if to say, got ya. Yeah, it was some good offloading coming from Ulster. We're going to see the replay here for Stockdale. Oh, he got kicked by Upper Fussy. I was wondering why he was saying he was sore there, but Upper Fussy tried to kick a loose ball and absolutely nailed him with the shot. We're going to see the replay here. Boom, right in the mid-set. Oh, no, he got him in the balls. That's even worse for Jacob Stockdale. That's not going to feel nice. I can tell you that right now. Getting kicked in the abdomen would be one thing, but getting kicked in the gonads is another level. Well-deserved. Watch it. Or watched it, says Patrick. Oh, Ulster, says Luke, and Stockdale kicked in the nuts. Yeah, he's feeling that one. And blue balls tomorrow, says Sakabula. They are going back for the penalty. Yeah, I now understand why Upper Fussy gave him a bit of a tap on the back as if to say, yep, sorry about that one. That probably didn't feel nice. Does go out and the crowd are already getting fired up here for the Ulster side. Have to make sure they're getting the win. Like I mentioned, 2 away games in a row coming up for Ulster. So every moment and every point is absolutely crucial. Hello, go Sharks. Hello, Amish, says Marion. Welcome in. And I'm having a warm sitting next to this lovely warm bride fire, says Ruth. You see, we're sitting pretty much the opposite here in New Zealand. She's sitting 6 degrees Celsius. But I'm still wearing shorts, so I don't know whether or not that's my own fault that I'm feeling a little bit colder than I could be. Now sitting 22 metres out from the line here for Ulster. Good driving tackle from James Fenter. And a 2-man rush tackle made there too. Doak going back across to the right-hand side. Sharks defending well just at this point. And the penalty does go the way of the Sharks for getting in the breakdown. It was James Fenter. Okay, players off to the side, I think was the call there. Yeah, just a big shot from Umbanumbi and Oxnishare. You can't go through that Springbok wall. And good Sharks penalty turnover. And that one hasn't found touch, though, from the Sharks. Stockdale running forward, so he has recovered from his groinal strike. And over shorts and 6 degrees, your Iron Man, says Ruth. You're having a nice time. Meanwhile, guys are getting kicked in the nuts, says Sakabula. Now in behind, Doak going for a bit of territory. This one's going to possibly roll dead, but Upper Fussy has to force it. And will now be the goal line dropout. Quick pace start to this match, sitting 0-0 at the moment. Yeah, it was a good strategy in the end from Jack Murphy, but that ball did not want to go towards the touchline. Sharks must win got half of the Springboks in the team, says Samuel. And yeah, Sakabul, although one less I should also mention due to Etzebeth being a late injury exclusion. Right, is this TMO involvement here? Oh no, it is an injury for Bongi Manambi. Actually getting to something to do with his bottom teeth. They were pulling on it. Something maybe with the jaw. And cheers, they didn't for various reasons. The Chiefs being, the Chief being, I thought we would get rolled. It's been tough being a Welsh rugby fan at the moment. Says Flesh in there too. And now Jordan Hendrickse. Ready to go for the goal line dropout as New Zealand talking about Stormers fly half. Says return. Most of them haven't woken up here in New Zealand as of yet. But, I mean, people have mentioned about Sasha. But, yeah, I think that because some Kiwis don't get up, that was a bit of a late shot from Emmanuel Tachuka. But, yeah, because most Kiwis don't get up for the URC matches, that's a great run from Stockdale. Every time I try and make the comment, they're going to keep on running and getting line breaks here, Ulster. And Nick Doak now looking both ways, goes off short side. Beautiful hands from Ulster, and they will score now with Jack Murphy to strike first. That was just great counter-attacking play round the halfway line. Stockdale, like I said, he's fully recovered and probably more fired up after taking the testicle strike. And just breaks through. Makazole Mapimpi caught off his wing, which eventually they decided to shift it out because he joined into the breakdown trying to get the turnover. I think in that situation, bit of a defensive misread and 2 times from Makazole Mapimpi. But also just too many free meters given, please, Sharks. Says Sakabula being kicked in the cojones is not pleasant at all, says Xander. Over there, try Ulster. Says Rory there too. I'm not a guy, but I could imagine how sore being kicked in the nether regions. Says Ruth. Ulster, the tough Irish Ulster. Says Ruth in there too. But 7.5 minutes in now, a kick to come. And just misses away to the left-hand side. So after 8 minutes, score remains 5-0 for Ulster. I think I said Nick Doak rather than Nathan there, but he did start that move and a nice quick bit of skill from Izzy Cormac. Conversion not successful, that is true. And also the try, says Geza in there as well. Now going to be kicked off by the Sharks, who find themselves down by 5. But one thing that we learnt from that last game between the Stormers and Benetton is the kickoffs. You can get that ball back relatively easily. And look at that. The Sharks have ended up with possession. So just like the last game, team who do kick off straight away back on the attack. Vincent Tachuka goes across to Jordan Hendricks, Andre Easterhazen, trying to bump off Werner Koch, his old teammate. Try no more spoilers. Says Patrick there. Now big run from Vincent Tachuka down the wing, 15 metres out. Jaden Hendricks back across to the right-hand side to James Fenter. Easterhazen with a very strong run. Says Rory. Now passing across to the right-hand side. Sharks, that's a terrible pass from Lucanio Arm. Counter-attack here for Ulster, who have kicked the ball forward. Loose bouncing ball. Khaleesi doesn't clean it up. And it will go off to Postlethwaite. And he will score now for Ulster's second try. That is pretty massive for Ulster. The fact that down the other end, the Sharks were on attack. But it's the experienced guys at the moment. Makazole Mapimpi with the mistake when it came to defence last try. This one, we saw Lucanio Arm throw the ball to no one. And then after that, we did see Sia Khaleesi fumble the ball. And then Ulster score. And Ulster on attack. Sharky swimming backwards. Alelia, what's happening here, says Sakabola. So it hasn't dawned on New Zealand that South Africa might have our first fly-half superstar. Probably not really for a lot of the Kiwis. Of course, because we've been covering the URC. We've seen Sasha from the start. He is going to be a great talent. My biggest concern, like I mentioned on the last stream, is just whether or not he can avoid injuries. He's already had so many of them for a young player, knee problems, shoulder. So you just wonder whether or not that will start to creep in at some stage in the future. If you start with a deficit, you suffer the whole game, says Xander. And Ulster on attack, Sharky swimming backwards and loving these emojis, says Geza. Yeah, the try one, of course, is a very popular one during these type of matches when we see a whole heap of free-flowing nature early on. Sharks have to respond now, says Sakabula. Yeah, they definitely have to be the next team to score. The thing is, though, like, they have had some decent moments. Like, they retained the kickoff. They did most things right. It was just that pass for Lokanyoan that did go wrong. Ulster claiming that ball inside of their 22 after the successful conversion. So 12-0 now. The way that it sits, oh boy, says Dallin Bell. But yeah, not the start to the match that the Sharks team were after. Oxnashire making the tackle, doing well. Thank you, Ruth. How are you? Says Rory. Now Nathan Doak will roll this one back. And the biggest thing for Ulster here will just be composure. That might have been charged down, was it? Did it hit the hand? No, it didn't. So it is going to be the line-out throw for the South Africans. It'll be just around the halfway line. So a pretty decent kick from Doak. Already an eighth of the way through this contest. That is going to be another one by the looks of it that just absolutely flies by. Oxnashire giving the call to Umbanambi, and Sharks making things hard for themselves, says Lilia B. Although they have still got more than enough ability, although that one, the line-out's loose. And again, we're going to see the chance here, although Jordan Hendricks are almost on the ball. Nathan Doak offloads it back. Loose ball. Ulster have to clean it up this time. Just taking it to ground inside of their own half. Is Sharks playing away? They certainly are, yes. Just went looking for custard pie, and now this bad news for the Sharks. Says Albert. Ulster fancy a bonus point. Yeah, I think all of these sides who are ranked around, honestly, anyone 13 and above need to chase bonus points from now on. Lions weren't able to get one. That could become very costly for them. Is this plastic grass? I'm not sure of the type of turf, but yeah, it isn't real grass, I don't believe. And maybe Sharks don't care too much about this game. I wouldn't think that's the case. If they didn't care about it, they wouldn't have stacked so many Springboks in their starting lineup. They've just made two little mistakes that have led to 2 tries. You know, Lucanio arms pass, if they'd have found hands on the outside, the Sharks might have scored down the other end. A nice attacking catch there from Jacob Stockdale. Oh, Ulster getting met by the rush defence of the Sharks. Nathan Doak again going off the left-hand side, finds Izzy Cormack. How big is the home ground advantage, or just psychological? Says, and I mean, it certainly does help having a crowd behind you cheering you on. That's going to be off forward. Could have been another chance. We need real grass, says Luke. And also, nice to listen to you from Clarence, says Michael. Yeah, just trying to shovel it on. And it did travel forward, even though it was behind the man when he was trying to flick it onwards. I think it was Nick Timoney there. Just not quite getting it backwards to Stockdale. And first scrum, this will be the test. Says Geza, yeah, an all-Springbok front row for the Sharks team. Oxnashire, Bongi Umbanambi, and also Vincent Koch. Back-to-back games, how many hours have we been going? So we won't count the Bulls versus Glasgow game because that was at 6:30 a.m. yesterday morning. But today, I think we're probably up to about 13... No, maybe not 13 yet. We've done 5 games. So we're probably up to about 11 hours of streaming, which by the end of this one will be closer to that 13. And come on, the Sharks make the scrums count. And thanks, Patrick Rory, says Ruth. I have to say, the eyes are starting to show a bit of the signs of a pretty long day. Are they checking something here in the TMO? Got a bit of a stoppage here. That is always a bit of a concern when we see something like that happening. I think it might just be a stoppage for an injury. So we'll now be play on. Commentators have both just said that Ulster would be happy with 12-0 at the end of this game. But you also have to consider there, like, they need the bonus point. I think that 24-0 or 26-0 would be much more rewarding for them, but I don't think they'll keep the Sharks to nil in this contest. I think we'll see them bounce back. They have got themselves the feed from just inside of Ulster territory to playing away now, TMO. Says Patrick in 13 hours streaming. Well done, Mr. Kiwi, says Xander. That's a big scrum from Ulster, though, and driving them backwards. Jaden Hendricks has to jump on it, and somehow the Sharks have been able to retain that ball. What is going on here? Says Sakabula. 2 quick fire tries. Couple mistakes from the Sharks. And Ulster were able to capitalise. Ulster destroyed Sharks in that first scrum. So here's Rory, and well, didn't expect that. Says Geza, an evening, everyone. So here's Sebastian there too. Oh, two players ended up connecting with each other. Nice take under the high ball for Zach Ward. One of the taller wingers around. An absolute tank in the 7 setup for the Irish. And Sharks destroyed at scrum time, says Sakabula. Now kicked him behind. Pressure here, and well handled by Apalele Fasi. Deciding to run round Doak. Does manage to get past him. Stuart McCloskey finishes off the tackle. Evening, Seb. And Sharks. Says Nas, but now they will shift it away to the left-hand side. Andre Easthuizen goes across to Marcus Olima Pimpy. Tries to get back up. I think that Ulster are going to steal that ball. Yes, they do. And that is once again a brilliant bit of play from the home side. I'm back across to the left here. Murphy, quick hands. Just looking for the numbers. Nice pass on the outside away to Nick Timoney, who's given far too much space to run with. Goes straight over the top of Apalele Fasi. Doak back across, inside ball sold, but runs it himself. Now 30 metres out from the line. Verno Koch a long way off his wing, but he missed the clean out and did it from the wrong side, which means that the penalty goes the way of the Sharks. I think that was just Koch realising that he had made the mistake. And we have got there Ulster, unfortunately making the Springbok pick. Sharks team look very average so far, says Rory. Nice steal, Says Sakabula. Yeah, we're going to see the replay here. It's this breakdown. Misses the clean out because he falls over Oxnashare and then tries to clean out Khaleesi from the wrong side of the breakdown. So either way, probably going to be a penalty against them. Sharks have two fairly easy home games left and never had a realistic chance of ending in the top 2, so can afford to lose, says Albert. Yeah, although, once again, looking at the lineup that they've gone with, yes, they can afford to, but they certainly won't want to. They'll want to build that momentum heading towards the playoff matches. No one likes having those losses just before playoff games. It can do wonders to the confidence to be on a bit of a winning streak. And Khaleesi and Ulster looking like making Sharks be called goldfish. And I don't think I've ever seen Ox going backwards like that. Yeah, it was a massive, massive push. And not just Oxnashare, but also Umbanambi and Vincent Koch. 3 Springbok, I was going to say, like, veterans, but of course not too many caps for a couple of them compared to some of the Springbok props around. But still, like, you don't expect to see that. We're already 16 minutes in. Rob Herring just getting a little bit of a beverage. We might as well do the same. Maybe the Springboks are shifting to the Bulls pack. Is this most alert you've been for a stream with the amount of sleep you've had? Probably not, to be honest. Like, we've had times where we somehow have energy all throughout the night. I do have to say, though, I am pretty awake. Like, we had a little patch just in between the 2 streams happening where I had a bit of a, sleepiness, but we're back good now. Yeah, they missed Eben in the second row, says Geza. Line out stolen by Ulster there too. And they decide to kick it down to only about 10 metres out from the Sharks line. Ethan Hooker looking for the kick off the side of the boot. Had some pretty decent distance, but doesn't find touch. Now Murphy will kick it high again. Doak chasing after it, and Jordan Hendrickson knocks it on. So it will be another scrum for Ulster. And this is the danger because they will now have the scrum feed. Maybe the Sharks forwards are careful not to hurt ankles on that turf. With Tess coming up, says Albert. 12-0 already. AFK for 10 minutes, says Blues Nate. Another lost line out here. It seems like already having that late change of Eben Etzebeth out is having quite the impact on the Sharks team. The Sharks are unfortunately just too inconsistent, says Roger. And it seems like there is something wrong with the Sharks team spirit, and I hope this doesn't spill over to the box, says Sakabula. 17 minutes in, and already we've seen some brilliant starts to this match for certain Ulster players. We've seen a lot of Doak. Seen some decent play from Jacob Stockdale too. But sitting 12-0 at the moment. They will be more than happy with this, the home crowd. I'm saying quite a few people arrived quite late to the game, but it is filled up now in terms of seats. Big push again from Ulster. They don't wait for the penalty advantage. Instead, they try and go for the grubber, which isn't going to be successful. Hits the leg of the Sharks, and now they've lost about 50 metres or so. Now, McLeodski goes off to Doak, finds Izzy Cormack. On the halfway line now, I like how you use the only South African Ulster squad for the thumbnail. I know my audience, I guess you could say, in terms of the best option. Although, sadly, we had Etzebeth because he was going to be playing, and now he sadly is not. Now, big run from Ethan Hooker. I'll say the other close option was Stockdale. He was the runner-up in the poll that I did by myself. That vodka and Hamish's water bottle roof. There's Nars Williams, cross kick attempted here, and Werner Koch knocks it backwards for Ulster, now short side. Stockdale tipped over by Lukanyuam. Doak goes across now to Murphy. Good hands from Ulster. This is about as slick as their passing has looked in a wee while, and they've chosen the perfect game to do it. Doak now looking for the kick in behind and just plays a good old territory game there. It might be close to a 50-22, but I believe it will still be a Sharks line out. And Eben is so big he plays even if he's not. Says out, they could certainly use him in the line out at the moment, that is for sure. As they are just struggling a little bit at the moment. Playing guys in gals love. Says Naz Williams. We will go like this. We'll check the odds at the moment, seeing as Ulster did come in as slight underdog. We'll see how it's sitting. Alright. Like that. Yeah, currently Ulster are, well, as you would expect, currently favourites. The way that it does sit. They're going to kick this one towards the touchline. Werner Koch not able to take it cleanly. And decides against the quick throw too. I reckon Eben could have played basketball, would have made more money. Says Geza, did the Stormers win? They certainly did, winning it comfortably, I will mention, for the Stormers by almost 50 points. There was 54-5 in the end or something along those lines. And Ulster 35-24 for the full-time prediction. What happens if the Sharks lose? They will still be within that top four, although the gap between them and the Bulls does increase. And in terms of them and the rest of the field who are sitting within that top 8 at the moment, they also close that gap a little bit more. So it's not a game that the Sharks will be wanting to lose. But at the moment they are down by 12 after 20 minutes, not exactly what they would have had on the bucket list. Now off to the right-hand side here, nice flat pass. Going across. Oh, bit of a diving catch there from Murphy, which gets them back on the attack. Stockdale, again, will kick this one in behind. It will just stay in the field of play, so a well-weighted kick. And Apalele Fasi kicks it down to the halfway line. Ulster seem to be everywhere when it comes to their back three at the moment. Now, considering the kick again, in fact, this time they will go for the grubber. The Sharks fly half. Jordan Hendrickson gets across for it. Now, a bit of a counter ruck again, but the Sharks hang on. And even not playing says Sakabula, that is correct. He was initially in the lineup, but then has been taken out due to, I believe it was an injury before the game. Well, people, please find the like button and subscribe to Kiwi Lads Rocks, says Ruth. And yeah, what a game. Definitely vodka in that. Cheers, says Blues. Nate kicked into touch by the Sharks. Good clearing kick. Yeah, the pressure is still well and truly on. Evans' bank balance doesn't feel odd, I bet, says Albert. Now, another line-out chance for Ulster. They have already won a couple against the throw. And beats at any time, says Ruth there. Yeah, just chasing after that one hard was Apalele Fasi to be able to retreat back. John Plumtree just looking a little bit confused at the moment at what we've seen for the start of this contest. Nathan Doak sitting about 30 metres out from the line, going short side. Kicked in behind from Rob Herring, of all people. Decided to go for a kick. Ethan Hooker dropping that one, but he has knocked it backwards. Crowd not too happy about it, but they'll be very happy with that breakdown as Ulster get 2 men in there and get another turnover. Massive start to this game for the Irish side. And this would be a relatively easy three-pointer if they want it. But I think that they'll be going a little bit more aggressive here than some would anticipate. I think that maybe they're kicking for the corner. I thought that might be the plan. Try and keep it going. Vernicock against the Sharks feels odder, says Sebastian there. And TV watching all my favourite sitcoms. Favourite sitcoms. Which one stands out the most for yourself, Ruth? But now Rob Herring with this line out throw, sitting about 12 metres out from the line. Well, we'll go like this. And we will go like this as well. Trying to get this rolling maul going. I almost said Jamie George with that head strapped up the way that it is, but it is Rob Herring. Now another low tackle made on him. Vincent Cock lands with his face on the ground. I love friends, says Ruth. And just hope they don't get greedy. And that time there is a knock on. Sharks not quite able to take it cleanly. I want to see these percentages again. Because I do feel like this one definitely isn't going, like I said, the way that many people would have been anticipating. But, yeah, see, Ulster are more than a 60% chance of winning at the moment. Even though, like I said, they came in as underdogs at the start. Agree, Werner shouldn't be there. But the Sharks doesn't seem to miss him with Hooker there. And up the Blues, says Rugby Itch again. And what games next week? We've got the Sevens, or the LA Sevens that is. We have got the Champions Cup semi-finals. We've got Super Rugby. We've got the Under-20 Rugby Championship and maybe a couple other random games in there too. Yeah, Ulster dominating. Says Tyrone. Magnum PI, A-Team, cheers, Golden Girls. Says Ruth. Is there a TV show called Shortland Street in New Zealand? There certainly is. And it's been going for like, I don't think it's 50 years, but it's certainly been going for at least 20. If I'm not wrong. In fact, that might be another thing to Google. When did Shortland Street start? Some of you guys might know of it. Right, there's a small bit of head contact they've said there. Shortland Street. What would you say? Like start date? I can't think of the word. It is currently about 26 hours into me being awake. Shortland Street start date. There we go. We'll go with that. Oh, I didn't even spell date right. I put date, which is a very fancy way of writing it. Started in 1992. So it is older than me. Just went to the cinema to watch The Accountant 2. 100% worth it. I haven't seen The Accountant 1. So I definitely should probably watch that first, I would think. Looks like a bit more strapping going onto the arm of Vincent Cock here. And Devo behind in Ireland. And evening, Tim. Hope you're doing well. See Sebastian in there too. Ulster, they did turn down the three-point attempt just before, going for the corner instead. Werner Cock is way out on the wing here. Neighbours reruns are still showing in Africa. What about home and away? Do they show home and away in South Africa? Because that's another one that's been relatively long-standing in Australia. I don't actually know whether or not that started before Shortland Street or not, but line-out throw here for Rob Herring. Sitting about 30 metres out from the try line here. And I should actually clarify that the Sharks, I believe, stole that line out so clean that I thought for a second that they actually threw it in. But Jacob Stockdale claims it just outside of the 22, does kick it high. And, oh no, it's going to be knocked backwards. So Stockdale able to play on. Big shot from Upper Lelefasi, opposite number. Counter-up coming from the Sharks. And that should be the turnover. No, what's the referee called here? Okay, there was a knock-on first. Home and away is a scam. It's not about football matches, says Sebastian. I don't watch TV here. SABC and ETV kills me, says Xander. And Sharks come on Sharks. And Sebastian Amish's supercharged boom commentary, says Ruth. Now another scrum here, and it will be the feed for the Sharks. Apparently already, 25 minutes in it. It's been going very quick, and it always does when a side is down by more than one try. You just feel like they find themselves chasing the game, and the Sharks, they haven't been terrible throughout this one. Like I mentioned, they've just had a couple moments that have gone pretty badly for them, and it led to 2 quick fire tries. Now that scrum ball not coming out as cleanly as they would have liked, but it could be an advantage. Note, referee says it's moving around too much. So it is going to be another penalty. Who's your favourite, Frodo or Bilbo? This is where you're going to be very disappointed. Lord of the Rings, of course, filmed in New Zealand. But guess who hasn't seen it? Or The Hobbit, or any of those ones. I definitely need to get round to it. Does the SABC and ETV still exist? What player from the box do you think will have a breakout year? At the moment, Sasha Feinberg Ngumazulu, of course, has talked up quite a lot from what we've seen in the URC. So if he can back it up at international level, will be very impressive. Breakout year in terms of, I guess you want a young guy, which Sasha still is. I don't know who else they're going to look at as like a young up-and-comer. Like maybe a Honeycomb or someone if they give them a bit of a chance. Choking Hamish. Says Albert. Who's choking? Am I choking? I don't think I'm choking. That's what you're supposed to ask someone who's choking, isn't it? Before you give them the Heimlich. You have to say, hey, are you choking? And if they go, then you go, okay, they are. Better do something else. Stockdale down the wing. He's been running all over the shop for this matchup. Feinberg and the Bulls prop. So Wilco Low, I assume, is the one you're talking about there. Now, rolling this one back, Ulster. 40 metres out from the line. They are going for the box kick again. Vincent Tachuka almost jumping the gun. And Julius, a good shout. Yeah, Lorenzo Julius as well. Oh, no, that one goes into touch. Definitely because when you think about Lorenzo Julius, like the Under-20 Rugby Championship we covered last year, he was in the box side and now could be getting the chance for the Springboks. Lord of the Rings, best thing ever. Are you choking? Hamish proceeds to prove he's absolutely not choking. Says Sebastian. That's going to be a nice territory gain there for the Sharks. About 30 metres out from the line now. Stockdale down on a knee. You still don't know whether or not that is from the groinal strike. No, that was from that big strike to his knee as Fussy tried to charge through. Yes, 100% Honeycomb as the next pair of space. His name I slightly mispronounced there, I will admit. The New Zealander next door here said he hasn't seen it also. Says, return a cool story, bro. I feel like it's that like Kiwi to have seen it that I haven't seen it, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like there are a few New Zealand movies that I haven't actually seen, which is very bad, seeing as I am from New Zealand. But if it makes people feel better, I have seen very limited movies. Like, I think I've only watched one movie in like the last 6 months. And I remember what that movie was because I watched it only about a week ago. Lord of the Rings rather watch paint dry. Says Patrick, what strategy do you think is working best for Ulster at the moment? I think it's that counter-attack. Just flying forward, heading off now. Have a good live stream. Thank you, Tim. We will, of course, catch up with you at some stage, I'm sure. And still wake up screaming with the 7D land tune in my head. And let's go. The Sharkies make some splash. Says Blues, Nate there. 2 and 1 Sharks drive, then game chances. It needs to score before half time. Yeah, I think it will definitely be a massive bonus for them if they can get a try for the halftime break. The thing is, though, they've still got time to theoretically score 2. All they need is just to find a couple good passes, and that was a nice one from Andre Easthuizen. Straight to Sia Khaleesi. Now, after the left-hand side step from Apalele Fasi. As this is this is an Ireland versus South Africa game, and Ireland is currently winning. Says Cameron, that is correct, although we did see an Ireland versus South Africa game earlier, and Connacht did get beaten. But Doak now going off to the right-hand side here for Ulster. Once again, their counter-attack. Jacob Stockdale, more metres for him. He's going for another chip in behind. Waits for the ball. Gets it perfectly. Passes off to Doak. That is a brilliant try from Ulster and their third of the match. And no Sharks WTF, our box getting embarrassed, says Sakabola. That's so sad what's happening on to SABC, says Roof, but that is a phenomenal try once again from this Ulster team who are just they're taking their chances when they are given, and they are not letting it slip. Oh, what is wrong with the Sharks here is Michael Foree. Doak just, winning the foot race there. Stockdale the same. Well, I said, could have just kicked it down the pitch. And it just seems to be, at the moment, they're all over them at this current point in time. Now, another chance here to add the extra 2. Has New Zealand forgiven South Africa for Musk? No idea. To be honest, can we restart, please, says Lilia B. Hopefully they just, at halftime say, listen, this hasn't gone the way that we'd like. We would like a redo. Thank you very much. The game is around. Game of the round is Scarlets versus Leinster. Absolute class performance, denying any bonus points for Leinster as well. What is going on? Why are the Springboks losing to Ulster, says LFG. Ulster, again, Irish looking like crunching these Sharks. Sharks don't have the answers, says Roof. But it's certainly been a statement start from this Ulster team. They've pretty much said, look, we need these points to try and go through. They've already scored 3 tries in this match. They need 1 more. Go Ulster, says Luke. And Stockdale, excellent. He's so far man of the match. I can agree now. It is that counter-attack that is making the Sharks run around like headless chickens at the moment. Lord of the Rings made $2.964 billion at the box office, so it can't be as much fun as watching paint dry, says Albert. And where was this last week? I feel like, Ulster have had a frustrating run, haven't they? Because, they've been pretty handy here, that is for sure, but they've also had other games where they just haven't looked like you'd expect, if that makes sense. Now Jordan Hendrickse trying to find his way through. Now Esterhuizen kicking it downfield. A restart, please. Test match if this round, Glasgow versus Bulls. And Albert, just not my scene. And I don't like the score, says Return. I'm sure there are many Sharks supporters that feel the same. But Upper Lilifasi with a good run. They need 1 try before the halftime break here for the Sharks. My impression is the Char, says Andre. Now off to the right-hand side again. Skipping it out to Sia Kolisi. Tackled low by, there was the try scorer, Postlethwaite. Almost over the ball again for Ulster. They were very close to getting that penalty. I think it was Izzy Cormack that actually ended up accidentally distracting the ref. And remember, Ulster has 8 players leaving. So I think Ulster is using that as motivation. Okay, so the Sharks not on the happy train for South Africans, says Albert. Now back into the pocket. Jordan Hendrickse again decides to send this ball to the sky. And knocked back by Makazole Mapimpi. They've just said the last thing that they want to do is concede a try just before the break. Now passed out wide, nicely done. Cutting back inwards was Ethan Hooker. What a handful, says Rory. This 33 minutes has been, at the moment, just a really strong Ulster attack. Jordan Hendrickse, though, finds the offload to Jason Jenkins. That was a huge fend-off, and the man gets within 10 metres. That was accidentally, deliberately knocked down. Well, I guess if it's deliberately knocked down, it's not an accident. And now Jaden Hendrickse. This is the Sharks' chance. They pass it out wide, and Makazole Mapimpi goes in untouched. And it will be the try. 19-0 is not a pretty sight. It seems like the try is going to be awarded, but this seems like it might be actually a yellow card for Jacob Stockdale too for a deliberate knockdown. So they are just going to be double checking this one too. Many big egos in the Shark team. And unlike Rassi, Plum doesn't know how to manage it. Oh, okay, so they are just talking about whether or not maybe a penalty try could be on the cards here. Stockdale, we're going to see the replay now. He tried to knock it back towards his goal line, but it's whether or not he's in an offside position, which I believe they have said that he is. So this might be a little bit of danger for Jacob Stockdale after such a great start. If he is off the field for the next 10 minutes, it's definitely going to hurt them. Just a nice pass out wide for Makazole Mapimpi to run in over the try line. Okay, I think that still went backwards. But he was offside, so that kind of cancels out whether it goes forward or back. Okay, yellow card for Jacob Stockdale after what has been such an impressive start to this match, at least some positivity and momentum for the Sharks, says Dalen. And now for the next 10 minutes, they're going to have even more momentum if they can make the most of it. Six and a half minutes remaining of the half. Jordan Hendrickson, a tough kick near the sideline. Does need this kick to go over. And right next to the touchline, just drifts away. It does mean now that the score is 19 points to 5, not going to be an easy conversion. This could be the turning point, says George. Exactly right. The Sharks normally only need one sniff. First of all, brilliant run from Jason Jenkins as well, though. I know that we talked about the try being scored. Hamish foresaw Stockdale's yellow card, and abstained from using him in the thumbnail, says Sebastian. But that now means that Vincent Koch cannot afford to get one before the end of this game either. You know? Now, that one's going to be slapped back onto the side of Ulster. And, well, try Timo approved. So pretty much it became, well, actually, it's interesting that Stockdale still got the yellow card, but it didn't become a penalty try in that case. And Werner Koch, says Sebastian, now passing across. Did I say Vincent Koch maybe rather than Werner? Oh, Doak gets it away to Alan O'Connor. Oh, Werner Koch trying to bump off there. This is now, I was just trying to check the odds, and it does seem like, oh, no, penalty does go the way of the Sharks, who are still underdogs, but not by as much. Northern Hemisphere crowds ish, says ARC. And this kick has missed touch. And okay, not too far. 2 converted tries behind. And let's just hope Evan doesn't get a yellow. It's going to be kicked to behind, looking for the sideline. Evan can't get a yellow, though, I should mention, because he sadly did not start in this game. They decided to take him out late due to, I think it was an injury. He called us all effers, says Sebastian, and Bulls won last night, and that's all good for me, says George. Now, line-out chance for Bongi Umbanambi and the Sharks. Sharks 10 suspect. Lebok undercover, says ARC. And I'm rather going to be a good night nurse, says Louis. In this game, needs Sharks score before halftime, says Patrick. And yeah, currently they've got the 5 points, but I would think that, you know, one more makes it interesting. 12 points to 19 going into halftime, still with that man advantage in the second half, is all kinds of dangerous for their opposition. Only 3.5 minutes remaining here. Jaden Hendrickson will kick it high. Werner Koch goes up for it and well claimed. Tries to offload it back to Cormac as a Chuck Woo. Can't quite decide what he wanted to do with it, so instead just charges forward at the Sharks. And I believe it's going to be called as a rolling ball. No, it is a tackle, so they do have to release. I like when Eben gets a yellow. He comes back so strong after a 10-minute break. France quarterfinal springs to mind. If Plumtree keeps his job, then no coach should ever get fired again. Says WLK. All Doak goes through, but they will go back for the knock-on. And just getting up there. It does go forward off Zach Ward's hand. Agree, WLK. And hey, Georgia Low Blues or Bulls won. Do you believe in rugby gods, or do you think they are man-made? What do you mean? Like, as in like good players, or you like, as in like the bounce of the ball? What are you saying? Return of the cool story, bro. If you had to pick a man of the match from the first time, would it be, if any? I would say first half, even with his yellow card, Stockdale's probably at the moment man of the match. Doak's been pretty handy too. The Ulster 13 surname, says Albert. So it is Jude Postlethwaite. We have good there. Once the Sharks get momentum, they are unstoppable, Looks like Khaleesi having a bit of a chat there with Bongi Umbanambi, just discussing what plan of attack will be for the last couple minutes. And I was like, yes, we won, so happy about that, even though the last 10 minutes was pathetic. Says George, yeah, they went from their best attacking game, their best defensive game, to almost letting it slip. It is going to be the scrum now for the Sharks. Probably about 38 metres out from their line. They put the entire Sharks team in the sin bin so they can reflect. And George, great start, fizzled out at the end, and very true. Says George there too. And this is where Sharks may look to be dangerous, but everyone just calls him Jude. Jude P at an absolute push, says Sebastian. Now ball is put in. And Sharks wake up and get us our everything coach. Says WLK, but going off to the right-hand side here. Hendrickse looping around. Just before the halftime break, up a Lelifasi gets it on the outside to Ethan Hooker. Tries to cut back inwards, but he is extremely close to the sideline. Somehow stayed in the field of play, and Ulster there. Looks like they're going to get themselves a counter ruck again now. Yes, they do. Just a lack of ball security for the Sharks. The crowd absolutely loving that one as they bundle over the opposition forwards. And Ulster turnover, says Rory. Now Nathan Doak. Looks like he is shaping up to go for another kick here. What time is the Sharks playing? Says ARC. Hopefully in around 15 minutes when the second half gets underway, we get to see the Sharks come out firing. Plumtree has done way better than last year, right? That is true. Like, the Sharks are currently sitting in 4th in the overall standings. Last year they were, I think, 15th at this time of the comp. So, you know, as much as they've been a little bit up and down at times with their form, they're still doing much better than they have been. But now, chance here for Bongi Umbanambi. Be able to throw this ball in for the Sharks line out. Just a minute remaining. If the Sharks can strike again here, it would be a very handy time to do it, but Ulster wouldn't mind their bonus point before the second 40. Jaden Hendrickse goes across to Bongi Umbanambi. Hendrickse again goes a manual to Chuka, short ball to Lukanyoamu, almost was able to get through. Hendrickse looking for this ball. It was almost going to be a penalty advantage for them. Ethan Hooker with the step offload to Andre Yesterday's, and now up and Lelefasi goes to Mapimpi, and he will get his second try of the match just before the halftime break. Sharks can't afford to snore. And also tried from Patrick. It was a little bit early. I think it was about a minute or two before we got to set, and Sharks need Peter DeVilliers. As the new coach says, Xander. Yeah, nice run down the wing from Makazole Mapimpi, who already has 2 tries throughout this first half. I think they're just checking the sideline. Nah, he's fine there. Mapimpi and Kingspan or Kings Park. Kingspan, I think, is what it's called, but Kings Park's probably a lot easier. And a much needed try, Sharkies. Anyone who goes up 11 places in 1 year should stay for the potential momentum next year. Says return. I know they are just checking for a forward pass here. No, I think that's flat, but fine. I'd say it's been a weekend of injuries. Hope nothing serious from this one. As Kingspan says it gets it there, and let's go the Sharks, says Lilia B. And no try, says Rory. Yeah, the TMO there, it sounds like they are going to give it as a forward pass. It's got not updating, so we can't celebrate yet, says Xander. And yeah, it's awarded as a forward pass there, which does mean we will have one more scrum before the end of the half. Yeah, Makazole Mapimpi, he's going to have that one taken away from him. Ulster chance now going around the ground. They will be, I would say, pretty relieved to not concede right at the end of that first half. Now scrum feed. And also no try, says Xander. Yeah, so no try for the Sharks. Still sitting 19 points to 5. I believe, yeah, there we go. It has now taken it back. Get this ball off the park. Says Geza, yeah, for Ulster, they just need to get this ball in, get this one out. Now, scrum again. Ulster putting it in, trying to get it out there, and they do kick it into touch. So 19 points to 5. It's the halftime score, a lot more in favour of Ulster than many people would have been anticipating. That try would have been a game changer for sure. Yeah, going into that halftime break, let's just say that that kick misses. Even 19 points to 10 could have been a big game changer for the Sharks here. The scoreboard is confusing, man, says Xander. And there is a reason why Ben Whitehouse is a very terrible ref. Never in a million years a forward pass, although it was the TMO who did get involved, which wasn't actually Whitehouse in that situation. And the squad Plumtree should be top 2, said WLK. Although, as we've learnt from last year's competition in particular, it doesn't really matter where you are in that top 8 as long as you win the comp. So, yes, it's nice to have the home finals, but, you know, sometimes those away wins can be that little bit more sweet. Airballed all the box and still produce bad results. Says ARC. What happened? Went to get a beer. So try scored by the Sharks, then disallowed. So they've got a little bit of work to do for the second half. In fact, a little bit more than a bit of work. And yeah, we'll have to see whether or not that second half is going to be the turning point. TMO again, says Patrick. Yeah, been heavily involved throughout this last little while. Definitely throughout this round of the URC. And score possible, says Mohadin. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Sharks, they've been close to scoring multiple times, but you know, it's just going to be making sure that they can get that finish. My son-in-law's brother played for Ulster's under-20 and a couple of games for Ireland under-20s before its knees went, says Pleshin. And now that would have made the game on again, says Patrick there too. But looking through at what is to come for these two sides, ladies and gentlemen, we have already mentioned about what's happening in 2 weeks' time, but just for anyone who has missed it, the Sharks, they have got Ulster. Well, sorry, they have not got Ulster. They are playing Ulster. They have got the Ospreys, and then they are going to be going head-to-head with the Scarlets the week after. That one could be crucial in terms of who finishes where within that top 8 for Munster and Ulster. They have got an Irish derby taking place in 2 weeks' time, and then Edinburgh versus Ulster is happening the weekend after. In terms of other games that are happening in that next round of the competition, those games both taking place on the Saturday 10th of May, or that is the 9th of May for you guys in South Africa. But the Bulls, they will be playing Cardiff. Stormers will be taking on the Dragons. Leinster playing Zebre. Benetton, Glasgow. Connacht versus Edinburgh. And Lions versus Scarlet. That will be a Monday morning for us here in New Zealand. But for you guys in South Africa, that will be a 3 p.m. kickoff on Sunday afternoon, also next week. Now, of course, it says 9 days, but we are a bit closer to now. It's probably 7 days till those matches are taking place. Edinburgh versus Bath, as well as Lyon versus Racing 92 for the Challenge Cup. And then on the Champions Cup side of things, Leinster versus Northampton, and also Bordeaux versus Toulouse. So some big games happening next week. Alongside that, we've got the LA Sevens, which we are going to be covering on the channel. Plus, as well as that, we've got Super Rugby. Probably going to be covering 4 or 5 games of that round as we do get to the business end of that competition too. Was the try removed? It certainly was. Munster versus Ulster. That should be a good watch. Says Sebastian. Have you managed any rugby franchise, present or past? Who would you love to be a part of? Any specific reason? Honestly, I think I would be an absolutely terrible manager because I'm too indecisive. So I probably wouldn't be able to make important decisions. I'd probably end up signing players that I shouldn't have. And then I'd probably get sacked within about 5 weeks. So it's probably not my best attribute to be a coach or a manager. The highest level that I've coached in terms of any sport has been like an under-12s cricket team. And that's about as high as my coaching days go. Wakey Sharks play rugby. George Sirius, you watch the current game, says ARC. And RC Precision, never mind the score. The momentum is with the Sharks. Unlucky not to get the try. Can't do worse than Gatlin. I wouldn't guarantee it. I probably would make Gatlin look like the best coach in the world. My phone battery is going flat. Got to recharge. Says Ruth. And also, we don't need the Jacks winning in South Africa. And also, thanks, Kiwi lads. Says ARC in there too. But looking through at the benches for these two sides. There we go. One moment. I am just about to sneeze, so I will quickly mute. We are good. But Ulster, in terms of their bench, they have got Stewart, they have got Reid, and they've got Wilson as the front row replacements, Dalton and Treadwell as the other two forwards, and then it will be Shanahan as the number 21, Aidan Morgan at 22, and then McCann as the number 23. For the Sharks, they've got Fezambata, Ntutuku Machunu, and Handro Jakobs. Manuel Tachuka actually did start this game, so I'm not too sure who they've got as the number 19 here. Petsi Lazy, though, he will still be the 20. Bradley David, Sia Masuku, and Lorenzo Julius as the number 23. We see there is down to a travelling disadvantage. To the Sharks, still a decent game plan, says David. And also Julius will make an impact, says Rory. He normally does when he makes his way on, so perhaps it could be the case here again. And the Sharks, they will need a big second half. You know, sitting down by 14 at the moment. If they had scored that try, being down by 7 would have looked a lot better just at this point in time, but disallowed for a forward pass. They are just showing Nathan Doak, and what he's been able to do throughout this match has looked extremely impressive. And alongside that, we've seen some great work from Jacob Stockdale, although did get himself a yellow card right at the end of the half, which I don't think Ulster will be too happy about. It was a brilliant breaking run from Jason Jenkins initially to create the chance. And then just that offside play. I've been watching Julius since school age. He was phenomenal from a very young age. There's Rory. Yeah, Makazole Mapimpi has scored just the one try. He almost got a second a little bit later on in the half, but Nathan Doak, he got absolutely fended off big time by Jason Jenkins. And then Jaden Hendricks are getting that perfect pass out wide to be able to get their try. So, ladies and gentlemen, with the way that the scoreboard currently sits, do you see a Sharks comeback? Yes or no? 14 points down, so 2 converted tries and then something to get them in the lead. Ulster have looked strong, but they've got a man in the bin now, like we mentioned. Can they do it? Can the Sharks get the upset win? Yes, says George as the first prediction there. And the thing is, like, if they score within the first, I want to say 10 minutes, or even, first 15 minutes, and Ulster don't score during that time, they'll go all right. Fight next before Eubank and Ben, nicknamed the Boogeyman due to being the thing of nightmares for the opposition, says Rory. Yes, in 2056, they will make a comeback, and yes, Sharks will come back, and Sharks will win. Nay to the comeback, says Sebastian, and Sharks can do it, from Albert there as well. Okay, we're just hearing there, I think that's the Ulster coach, or one of the coaches anyway, saying that it would be massive for Ulster to still be able to get themselves through to the playoff games. Even Supersport says it's not forward, says LFG, and 35 points to 26 final score for the Sharks. And absolutely yes, says Lilia B. Okay, so one person at this point has said that they won't make the comeback. Although ARC, I assume, is a no for saying that it's going to take them till 2056 to be able to get it. But we'll have to wait and see. Poor performance by the Sharks in the first half. They must up it in the second half, says Monty Lagrange. Yeah, this is now, yes, the Sharks are already confirmed for the quarterfinals and they shouldn't really have a chance of missing out. But this is where, the business end of the comp does take place. The Sharks need Sia Masuku on the field. And also, Baby Hit Me One More Time by Britney Spears was before you were born, Hamish. So you have so long to go until your 80, says Return. Although Britney Spears shares my birthday. Well, I share hers because I was born after her. Fun fact. And the Shark's going to come out firing in the second, says Lilia B. And once you play such that one wrong call does not affect your possible win. We don't need another Gats. We need a pragmatic coach who knows how bad we are. And that has to be a Welsh coach this time. But looking at the season as a whole, it's been really poor for us, Ulster, says Geza. I feel like these type of performances, I would say, probably make it more frustrating. The fact that randomly they just go out there and have a bit of a blinder, and everyone goes, well, where was that when we were struggling? My 84-year-old gran should have ref this game. She would have not been as poor for this one, says Rainer. And also we've got there Share Mine with Eric Cantona and Pacabona. Pacabona, is that an actual name? That is quite the name, exactly right. Says Geza, and Sharks will come back, says Marion in there as well. Now, we are just waiting for the second half. I believe they have cleared the field pretty much, which means they won't be too far away from making their way on. Is there not another match on the go right now? No, just this one, believe it or not. Normally we do have another contest taking place somewhere for the URC. I mean, the Gallagher Premiership, do they have a game at the moment? Or maybe the top 14 would be more likely to have a contest at the moment. Tomorrow at 2 a.m, Gloucester are playing Exeter. And then for the top 14 side of things, at the moment there is La Rochelle versus Bordeaux. That is a big game, and currently La Rochelle leading 8 points to 3. I would assume that Bordeaux have gone with a slightly weaker side heading into that contest for the sake of trying to be a bit more prepared for their game next week. Top 14 is on now, says Rory. Replace the C for the K, and I nominate Dan Bigger, says Sebastian in there as well. And Stormers was a huge surprise. Yeah, the way that they played was absolutely sensational. What do you think, Hamish? Can the Sharks come back? I think that they've got the potential to do so, but at the same time, I just worry that it might be a bit too much if Ulster do score early. But they have got the man advantage, which could make all of the difference. So, I'll look at it optimistically and say they've got a shot of being able to do it. They have to strike early, though. 45-17 for Ulster, says Xander. So you're ramping it up big time in terms of the points that are going to be scored against them. They're just saying there that Ulster may have been a little bit fortunate not to end up conceding right at the end of the half, but it will be kicked off, and now the second 40 is back underway. Stockdale still another 5 minutes or so remaining of his yellow card game of the weekend. We just talking URC, Dallin, or are we talking in general? Thinking through it, like the Super Rugby matches, most have been kind of one-sided. So I don't know whether or not, Brumbies versus Hurricanes wasn't too bad, but I don't think the Brumbies really fired, so that probably takes them out of the equation. Bulls Glasgow, if we're talking about best effort from a team, I would say that the defensive effort from the Bulls was absolutely phenomenal, and they deserve a huge amount of praise for what they were able to do. Yes, there was that little bit of a break in the last 10 minutes or so where they started having a couple more errors, but I would still say that they were definitely right up there. This is going to be a free kick going the way of Ulster now at line-out time. That is not the start to the half that the Sharks would have been after. They have just said there they aren't able to kick it directly into touch due to it being a free kick. Scarlets versus Leinster undisputed. So yeah, Sebastian, see, the only reason I wouldn't say that one is because I haven't actually seen that game yet. So for that reason, I have to say that I wouldn't say it as that yet, but hopefully I get to see a replay of it and we can confirm if it was a great contest, which I assume that it would have been. Now kick downfield from the Sharks. Doesn't find touch with the kick, although it was marked, so he could have. And need to watch that game, Sebastian. Says Dallin there. Yeah, by the sounds of it, it was certainly an impressive one. Upper Lilifasi trying to break through. Kanyawam, chance for him as well. Just checking the odds once again. We do see that Ulster are still favourites, as you would expect, even with their yellow card. They're expected to go on and do great things in this contest, but they have to survive this 10-minute period where they do have a man disadvantage. Great catch, Fussy. Says Eric. Yeah, solid enough under that high ball, Upper Lilifasi. I wouldn't be upset at that. Says Fleshin. You won't regret it. A loss for Leinster is a win for the world. Says Sebastian. I'll wrestle down again here. Doak back into the pocket, finds Murphy. We'll send it to the sky. Werner Cock chasing after this one. Great take from Apalele Fassi under the high ball again. Some quick hands from Estes and going off to Mapimpi. 45 metres out from their own line here, Sharks, and they need the try, like I said. Has to come within the first 10 minutes or maybe even 15. But they just need something. If the Sharks don't score, then soon then trouble. Says George. Nice take under the high ball from Zach Ward, who's going to try and run at the big man. Can't quite go through as Oxnachet is hanging off him. It always makes it hard to move. And the penalty does go the way of, I think it was Ulster there, not rolling away against Bongi Umbanambi. Looking like frustration from both teams in that moment. Stockdale only moments away from making his way back on and Leinster losing momentum as in past seasons. It tends to happen around this time, says Dallin, although I think it's also down to what's happening next week, which is that Champions Cup semi-final. They want to make sure that they beat Northampton rather than coming up just short. And of course, if they get beaten in that game, then they'll look at that one up against the Scarlets and go, maybe we should have just played our best team, give them some minutes. But yeah, it's definitely one of those ones that if they get it right and they win everything, people say, yep, they've done well. Leinster losing their mojo. Although we've got to remember that the guys who played in that game probably won't even get a chance in the playoffs. Maybe like 3 or 4 of them. Leinster have 2 eyes on that match. Yeah, they're firmly focused on that semi-final next week to try and take down Northampton. And how must Bongi get out of there? Yeah, it's a bit rough sometimes with those ones in the breakdown because you just can't go anywhere. That's going to be a forward pass. And the crowd do not like the call. I got a point there. Hamish says, down on exclusives, they lost by losing and not being able to win. Says Sebastian, and it was a third team, says Tyrone. That explains a lot, says George. Yeah, like looking through at their lineup, you will notice a lot of names that you go, who is that? And you get a bit confused. But honestly, it's probably a good learning curve. I feel slightly bad for the Leinster guys who come in and just have to, like, it seems to be any time that the main team are missing, yes, it's opportunity to get minutes, but they come away from games with more losses than wins at the moment. And also, I'm sorry for taking my anger out on you because the Sharks are losing, or maybe you couldn't pick up my tone. In that case, never mind. Says return. No, I hadn't really noticed, to be honest. I feel like I'm too sleep deprived to pick up on any sort of hostilities or anything. But we have got there Leinster to have a huge panel, says Patrick. Hearing the Ulster chants around the ground again too. It's a big scrum, not really going anywhere at this current point in time. Nice attack and run from Andre Esterhuizen. Always make you at least a few metres. A huge panel of players, unfortunately, says Patrick. Why don't they spread out the URC and Champions Cup? It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because, of course, ideally you want to have the Champions Cup at a different time, but because of all the rounds, like they do have to do it overlapping. Rush defence there from Ulster doesn't work out. Esterhuizen again charges forward, has the Sharks frozen. They're not doing too badly at the moment. Just a few nice set pieces in a row and they could find their way through. They just need to hang on to the ball, though. That's a poor pass from Handro Jacobs. Throwing it to absolutely no one. Fassi, though, goes on the outside to Makazole. Mapimpi. Tried to sit down Murphy. And they'll be fresh, says George. And take some at Munster, says Patrick. And Sharks need an Eldrick-type flank to help Kolisi, says Eric. Now, James Fenter, I think he got a turnover earlier on in the match, but hasn't quite had that same impact that he would have liked. Short ball, Esterhuizen, Lucanio arm, shifting it on. Sia Kolisi with the no-look pass on the outside to Ethan Hooker, who's wrestled towards the sideline. They're still trying to put him out even though he's on the ground, so it would have been a penalty had they been able to do so. Oxnachet. Come back across to the right-hand side. The skip pass misses and Ulster just kicked that ball into touch. Will be the line out now for the Sharks. But another error. But too common at the moment throughout this game for the Sharks in terms of the amount of times that it has been slipping through the fingertips. Oh, got something in his eye is the call from the ref. That is not ideal. Probably not very pleasing as well for the player who has got something in the eyeball. The Sharks have good individual players, but the Bulls play great as a team, says George. And also we have got there, it's just the way the fixtures are done, says Sean there too. And yeah, like it does affect some teams in terms of their decisions of who they're going to be going with and when. But at the same time, I feel like it's also, it's that, I guess, just the excitement of having two competitions running at the same time and being able to shift that focus. URC seems to be more important to South African teams than the European Rugby Championship. I think that has been the case. And I think that's also just because at the moment, the South African side's going into it for the URC, at least currently, they're sitting a lot nicer than some of the teams were last year. Like for the Sharks, they had the Challenge Cup. Because of where they were on the table, they were able to firmly focus and they managed to win the thing. At the moment for the URC-wise, there's about 3 South African sides that have a very decent shot of being able to win this year if they can just, hang in there and get it right near the end of the comp. Now looking for the rolling maul through the middle was Izzy Cormack, and he's going to cause problems. They're being told to use it once. Brilliantly done by Jaden Hendrickse, though, to be able to rip it away. James McNabney, I think, gave him a bit of a wedgie there. Wouldn't have been too nice, I wouldn't have thought. The ball is there to be able to play for Jaden Hendrickse. Going off to the left-hand side again. They've had quite a bit of possession throughout the second half at the moment, the Sharks, but they haven't been able to get that big breakthrough. Werner Koch locked over the ball. He was off his feet, so he does have to leave it alone. And does so very well. Now across there again, Jordan Hendrickse, a rush defence on Ox Nishe. That was Izzy Cormack who managed to put the shot in there. Short ball off to Jordan Hendrickse. Just couldn't quite link up with his next pass. Finds Vincent Tachuka eventually. It wasn't quite quick enough. Fussy with the inside ball to Andre Estes. And great break by Jordan, says Rory. Now going off to this left-hand side again. Just on the verge of being able to get that try, but it is stolen again by Ulster. Sharks need to score. They certainly did, but they weren't able to do so. Now back into the pocket for Murphy, who kicks it into touch. And that will once again relieve the pressure. And boy, there has been a lot of it at times throughout this match for Ulster, but they've handled it extremely well. They just aren't letting them through. Like I said, they've had a few line breaks throughout this match and the Sharks have made meters, but then Ulster seem to just find a way of being able to shut it down. Currently just 30 minutes remaining in this match, still down by the 14 for the Sharks. This is still within distance of getting back into the contest though. That one's nicely stolen by the Sharks. And it is a knock-on from Ulster, so we will go back for another scrum. Sharks not clinical. Yeah, that's one thing that they have lacked in this match is their normal, or at least something that we've seen in some weeks recently, is that clinical nature of the Sharks team. Sharks have definitely looked better in the second half. We need to convert the pressure into points, says Rory. I mean, some teams would say URC and other Champions Cup, says Sean. Now scrum again. Yeah, Ulster stopped scoring, draw on the cards. Well, that's the thing. We are still eagerly awaiting to see whether or not Ulster can get another try. And, they've looked likely. Jacob Stockdale being back out on the field, it seems a little bit more likely with him there. But, yeah, it just seems like the momentum from both sides. We've hit a bit of a stalemate just at this current point in time. Others forget Champions Cup also affects Premiership and top 14. Says Sean, that is correct. Now, big push there. They're being told to use it. Jaden Hendrickse that goes across to Jordan. If the Sharks get converted try, game would be back on, says Patrick. And this is a brilliant chance to be able to do so. Makazole Mapimpi waiting for this one. Out on the wing, tackled by Werner Koch, or at least slowed down by Koch before he makes those extra post-contact meters. And try time now, surely. See, here's Rory, big shot coming in on James Fenter, almost getting turned around the wrong way. Ulster being told to get out of it. The last thing that they want is to concede another penalty here. Umbanambi with the pick and go, shut down by his opposite number, Rob Herring. Ball rolls out, James Fenter. Who is it going to be for the Sharks that can score the try? No one, because they knocked the ball on again. Any international game you look forward to this year? Of course, that game at Eden Park between South Africa and New Zealand is the one that I think everyone has pretty much called the biggest game of the year. Now, there are a few other massive matches. The French series for New Zealand, I'm looking forward to seeing how they go there. And also France versus South Africa. That should be a good one to watch. Let's put our differences aside. It's what Webb Ellis would have wanted. Says return a cool story, bro. And knock on FFS. Yeah, it just comes at the wrong time. Frustrating, says Lilia B. And can't win playing like that. Yeah, just handling errors in the wrong positions on the field. If Ulster can somehow win themselves a scrum penalty here and just continue to build up the field, it's just going to be the worst possible scenario for the Sharks side. Jacob Stockdale having a bit of a chat there with Zach Ward in terms of agreeing on what the next play will be. Rob Herring just getting a bit of attention at the wrong time indeed, says George. Yeah, we mentioned that they needed a try within the first 10, and then I corrected it to the first 15, and now they've only got 2.5 minutes to get there. The French series has left a sour taste because of their selection policy for summer tests. It has, but at the same time, like, people have talked about whether or not New Zealand will go with a bit of a makeshift team as well. But I think they just have to go for the jugular. You know, beat them badly, knock them down the world rankings, and then, you know, that might, of course, that won't change too much. They'll still say, look, we're looking at our club level stuff rather than the internationals. But New Zealand have to beat them comfortably just to make the statement. And True Blue says, return and Sharks is a joke team. Says Enzo, they are still sitting in the top 4 though. So at this point, they have a home quarter final. And the Sharks have a lot of Springboks players but failed to gel. What's the problem? The Crusaders consisted of mostly All Blacks, yet were successful, but the Sharks are struggling. Says T7, well, it is of course, different coach from the get-go, but I do think that the Sharks team, sometimes they just seem to be a bit lost, but they're handling, like, there's nothing the coach can do about that. The boys are dropping the ball far more often than they should be. And anyone think Lions versus Tri-Nations team got replaced 6 Nations against 4 Nations elite games? Are now breaking off the back here for the Ulster number 8. Vernicott joining into the breakdown legally this time, unlike when Khaleesi was last in there. The Sharks will come back, says Nico. Now, I should mention that is when he took out Khaleesi. Khaleesi did nothing wrong in that breakdown. The way that it sounded like a dig at their box captain. Now, Doak kicking towards the touchline and does just that. Up to 53 minutes through in this match now, but Lorenzo Julius being on the field for the Sharks could be a bit of a game changer. Looks like some pretty tired legs for Andrew Warwick at the moment. Every time there is a line out, it uses up just a bit more time. Johnny Ray, they have just said. I was wondering who that was, and I had no idea, but a multiple Superbike champion, I think they've just said. Little kick in behind, attended by the Sharks. Looking for the turnover in the breakdown. Makazole Mapimpi must have been close to winning that penalty. James Fenter trying to do the same, but he too has lost his footing. The random reviewer, very sour. Fruits from the French, or those French, says Blues Native. Yep, says Geza. And Sharks will come back, yes, come back next year to try again, says Xander. Now Doak rolling this one back again. He's definitely up there for man of the match contender. I will mention, since Stockdale has come back out from his yellow card, he hasn't really done as much as he was doing beforehand. That one is going to be kicked out. Doak's not happy about where the touch judge says that it did go into touch. And it still means that the Sharks have got the line out. We just feel like we're on the verge of either a try for the Sharks or an interception for the Ulster side. The question is, which one is it going to be? At the moment, it seems more likely for the Sharks try, but they have had to work very hard to make any sort of meters here. Bongi Umbanambi, nice rolling maul. Setting up well here for the Sharks. They wouldn't mind a penalty advantage. They haven't quite got one yet. Now Vincent Tachuka gives that ball back to Jaden Hendricks, who will go across to the midfield to Ethan Hooker. Now one more pass on the outside. Upper Lilifasi tries to kick. It wasn't the choice, although it's not going to end up too badly. Stockdale lands hard on his head. Fenter locked over the ball. And it will be the penalty. In fact, that time it was Ethan Hooker. Ulster aren't letting it go. They do not want to take it quickly. Or at least they don't want the opposition to take that one quickly. Oh. Where's that Upper Lilifasi? Uh-oh. This isn't good. Upper Lilifasi. Okay. Upper Lilifasi just getting a last warning there from the referee saying that you're screaming in my face. It's not going to change any decisions. Yellow or red, nothing at all. Just reach for the pocket just to scare him a little bit. Honestly, I don't know what the Sharks are doing. I love my team, but it seems like the easy games are on par, says Romeo. And nothing says Geza. But they have decided to kick for the corner now, and Umbanambi with the line-out throw. Nicely claimed by the Sharks, going back across to the left. They're just right on the verge. And that was almost a turnover for Ulster. Yes, it is, but they have knocked it on. Although first knock on comes from the Sharks. So Ulster get themselves a scrum again. Hi, Hamish. Sadly been too busy today to tune in. Hi, everyone else too. Hi, Bruce says Patrick, and wasted opportunities, says Rory, and 2 converted tries, and they are in. And I love Mr. Arm. Yeah, it's getting a bit old. Old Buddy is getting a bit old. And Slow says on the right. He's one of those guys that I think, to be honest, the future for this Shark side in the midfield, I think, is Esterhuizen and Lorenzo Julius. But for now, like, Lucanio Armies, he's a great player and has some really good moments, but every once in a while does get caught out a little bit. Don't think Ulster have been in the Sharks 22 this half. Yeah, I don't think they've exited their own half for more than a few seconds at a time. Yet, they still haven't conceded. Big run from McNabney, run straight at Jordan Hendricks, who's a little bit slower, getting back up to his feet. But eventually does get there. Another good clearance from Ulster. The French youngsters might be nearly as good as the main side. Exactly right. And I feel like the mindset that a lot of people are taking into that series is, New Zealand can experiment because France are. But this young French team, like, a lot of those guys are going to be the ones who are in that squad in the next 5 or so years. It's been hard on us without Bruce, their return. And honestly, I'm not too sure what the Sharks are up to. It seems like the easy games are harder. And the harder games are a bit easier. And Creel better than says Dallin. Looks like Andrew Warwick will make his way off now. Now ready for another throw for Bongi Umbanambi. I don't think they'll be too far off actually making a few switches here for the Sharks, taking some of those experienced heads off and hoping that the youngsters can get them over the line. Rolling maul again here, working nicely for Umbanambi and Siakalisi, but Ulster getting in there, and that was a poor transition. I don't think this ball is coming out now. Ulster going to try and keep it in there. Still is marching forward at the moment for the Sharks, so they can't drag it down illegally. That ball is available, says the ref now. They've done very well to be able to get that one out of there. It looked like for sure it could have been the scrum for Ulster. And did the Stormers play and win today? That looked close to a knock-on from Jaden in the breakdown. But yeah, the Stormers did win massively. They won 54 points to 5, I think it was in the end. Another team on point in defence this weekend. And go Nummy. Says Anaz there. And yeah, it seems like defence at the moment could be the winner for this URC, which currently, of course, does have to put the likes of the Bulls and Leinster right up there. But now, Jaden Hendrickse goes across to Vincent Chuka. Up to 60 minutes through the last quarter of the contest. The Sharks still need 2 converted tries. Offload to Oxnashare, and that's a big shot coming in, looking for the turnover. And they have given away their penalty advantage for not rolling away. If Ireland don't win a Rugby World Cup, wouldn't mind France winning. England has won, only team on her hemisphere to win one. The Sharks need to convert possession and territory into points here, even if they just... Like now it's probably a bit late, but if they had taken 3-pointers when they had been receiving them, that's a big shot, maybe a little high. They might have to check that one, but Handro Jacobs gets close to the try line again. Jaden Hendricks, a short side for Vincent Echuka, and he scores between the posts. Much needed here for the Sharks, and now they're back in the game. Just like that, it will be a nice, easy conversion too. So that will make the score up to 19 points to 12. Now, at least one Shark is secretly reading my comments. Says on the right. And try under the post. Says Rory there as well. Just continuing to try there and try. Says Marion. And penalty Sharks. Says Patrick. I think you're still ahead, so try not to do too many spoilers, Patrick. We have there, what a try, wait for the TMO, says Xander. Yeah, I think the TMO will be involving that high shot that we saw earlier on. Definitely a much needed try. Now we need to watch those kicks, and that was coming. The pressure the Sharks have put on has been intense. Right, time on, and the shot clock will get back underway here. And let's go the Sharks, says Lilia B. 19 minutes still left, and I mean, they needed the try. Ulster going down, says Eric. Yeah, the comeback could still be on the cards if South Africa won the 5th World Cup. Would the breakdown vanish into thin air like magic? No, they'll probably find a way of drawing out their opinions for 4 years about it so that they can keep on adding to their viewership. But, yeah, it certainly wouldn't make them happy. The ref has missed a few high tackles throughout the game, says Rory. And Ulster still ahead, says Patrick. And that is going to be now a change being made. Okay, Warwick now off. And that is going to be for Reid. Callum Reid. Couldn't remember his first name there for a second. Sorry, Hamish Minute. Ahead, will not comment till you do, says Patrick. It is greatly appreciated just because this game does seem like it could be quite a close finish too. Pepsi Buthelezi has made his way onto the field, but James Fenter loose from the Sharks and they knock it on off kickoff. Bring Julius on. He's already on. Came on about probably 10 minutes ago. Hasn't touched the ball as of yet, I don't think. I think the Sharks can take this, still keep the errors to a low while they've just knocked it on again. Off kickoff. In a moment, once again, that just wasn't needed. You know, just taking the ball cleanly. Jason Jenkins goes through him and then Emmanuel Tuchuka. In fact, it was Vincent this time. It was hit relatively well in the midsection. In fact, no, sorry, it was Emmanuel. I think Vincent's playing lock for this matchup. Fezambata has made his way on. Dangy's been quiet. Yeah, I just don't think they've been able to shift it out to him. They seem to be going for those forwards instead. And Patrick on the same. I'm seeing it more live than I'm seeing Hamish, so I'm waiting my comment. But waiting for Hamish to catch up before I press send. Says Rory. Now Nathan Doak putting the ball in again there. Currently 22 metres out from the line for Ulster. Another try here would give them a bonus point, which I believe will still be the main goal for Ulster. Yes, they'd love to win this game, don't get me wrong. That is, of course, a massive goal of theirs, but the bonus point win. That's what all these sides that are outside of the top 8 have to chase. I see a smash and grab coming. Would you rather have Colby or Mapimpi on the wing? I'd probably go Colby. Like, yes, Mapimpi's a brilliant player, but Colby does have quite a bit of versatility as well. I remember New Zealand always come back. It's a sign of a great team, one that builds moments. And Julius is already on. He replaced says Rory. Now, nice stepping there coming from Matthew Rea. Oh, is he Cormac? Great offload again from him. Callum Reid. Now passing across. Ulster have got numbers, but it's dropped by McCloskey. And they had like 3-on-2 there. Just needed it to work out. Colby every day of the week, best winger in the world. Hamish, what's your take on the statement from the breakdown that Super Rugby is far superior to the URC? I think you're perfectly placed to have a sensible opinion on this. Once again, we've probably explained this about 15 times throughout the weekend because we have done many hours of streaming which have involved URC and Super Rugby. I think that Stephen Donald, he's either been told to say it to try and drum up a little bit of publicity for the breakdown, which it has worked perfectly if that's the case because more people talking about that show than probably they've ever had. Or he has looked at the last few games of the Champions Cup, gone, Leinster have dominated, Geordie Barrett scoring tries easy because they won those games 114-0 across those two matches combined. But, yeah, I think that it's definitely not a fair representation of what the ones who watch the URC feel. What's the breakdown? It is a show based out of New Zealand where ex-rugby players try and offend the world. Pretty much is the gist of it. 1912 is definitely a game for both to win now. And Sharks come back, taste fins up. And Ulster doing Edinburgh here. We smell it, is in the air. Now another scrum reset, down to 15 minutes remaining. Mbata having a bit of a chat there with the referee, just making sure the scrums are going to be smoothly running for the rest of this game. They've got Ntuthuko Machunu, Mbata, and also Hanro Jacobs as the front row. I believe Ulster have also made their changes here. Now ready to put this ball on. I should mention it is actually Jaden Hendricks who will be feeding it in. It's a show where they say nice things about South Africa. It's his return, a cool story, bro. Now going to be fed in. They try to offend the world. That's funny, says Brian. Well, they seem to do it every single time, don't they? But the thing is, anytime that it's like a bit of a quiet stage for them, there's just a random comment that then blows up. And Stephen Donald, like I said, I don't even know if he's the one who felt that. But, he's the one who got handed the piece of paper that say that the URC's not doing too well because, of course, then you get the extra viewership. But, yeah, not ideal. I think that the URC, Geordie Barrett, based on his form in this comp, should put him into the All Blacks. Whether or not they feel like it's the same level as Super Rugby or not, I think that URC has shown time and time again how competitive of a league it can be. Now, Andre stays and good attack and run forward. The breakdown says Super Rugby is like fine wine, URC is like beer. Says Anna, greetings from Joe Bettina. And the Eastern Cape says, Aidan, welcome in. Now, Jaden Hendricks around the halfway line. There we go. Next scrum, please. Big shot from Ulster. Wanted the turnover. Can't get it. Sia Khaleesi back into the pocket to Jordan Hendricks. I remember in 2019 they didn't mention South Africa won the Rugby Championship. It was absolutely bizarre. Says return, a cool story, bro. Obviously came into this match with I'm thinking it's either high expectations or low expectations. One of those two from Romeo. And now we are waiting. Nice dodge there from the referee. Managed to duck back, but another forward pass from Ulster. It seems to be when they're shifting it out wide that they are making those little errors. It could be a big difference maker as the Sharks now have another attacking chance. Was Izzy Cormac this time. And I will say it wasn't a mile for by the looks of that angle. How many games did the Sharks come back and won in the last couple of minutes, says Xander? It'll be a few, to be fair. And whoever sitting in Goldilocks cheers, says Blues Nate. I mean, we definitely know it's at least one because we saw them do it last week up against Edinburgh. They've got 2 matches to go, though, of their regular URC season. Same with Ulster, Edinburgh and Munster will be Ulster's opposition. And then for the Sharks, they have got Ospreys and Scarlets. 2 games at home for the Sharks, 2 away for this Ulster side. We have there, who cares what Stephen Donald thinks about the URC? Razor fired him from the AB's coaching team because he didn't add value. Says Victor. And scrum penalty would be great here, says Rory. Yeah, I think that the Sharks, they might even say a draw is good enough in this contest. Of course, they would be chasing the win if they can. And big push at scrum time. Neither side getting the better of it. Ethan Hooker moves up to 22 metres out from the line. Hendrickse goes back across to Jason Jenkins. Hanroy Jacobs loses his foot. And Sharks has a really good comeback against Clermont last year. Now offloaded up here. Chance for Lorenzo Julius. He goes through. The superstar and the super sub now gets them back into this contest. This is going to be 19-19, ladies and gents. After such a good start for Ulster, they're letting it slip through their fingers. And Julius knew he would make an impact, but pure pace up the middle when he got that ball and just takes off. No one looking like they were going to be able to stop him. There's a reason why the Southern Hemisphere doesn't rate Northern Hemisphere rugby, because we only have one World Cup. South Africa is now a Northern Hemisphere team. An all-but location, so we now technically have 3 more, says Fleshin. I think the competition, or the 2 competitions, are very different, says Brian. Yeah, exactly right. And there seems to be this thing at the moment where people try and say you're not allowed to like both competitions, which, like you said, they're different in their own unique ways. URC have the advantage of being new combinations of 5 different countries. Rugby with South Africa, rugby being an interesting factor. So rugby, on the other hand, they've added into the Pacific Islands side of things, which I think have been great additions to the comp with the Fiji and Roa, as well as Moana Pacifica. We have there, it looks like Ireland in the World Cup playoff match, says Eric. It looks like a couple changes are about to be made now. Alan O'Connor. In fact, no, sorry. Yeah, no, Alan O'Connor is off. Crowd, they will be nervous because this game now sits 19-19 with 10 minutes to go. I want Mills William a cheer on the breakdown, no comments, says Blues Nate. And 19-19 says Xander, that is correct. They were down by 14. They've managed to make a monumental comeback here. And with the next 9 minutes, the Sharks have got momentum. Try time the Sharks, says Nico. And the thing is, ever since Jacob Stockdale got that yellow card, he's become invisible. I honestly think the Islanders give Super Rugby a really nice aura and atmosphere. Says Aiden. All good challenge in the air from both teams. Ulster don't pop out with that one, though. The Sharks will get themselves the ball. I missed the score, went to grab a beer. Says Patrick, and Coy says Victor. And I should also mention, with the Sharks scoring the 3rd try there, it means that whoever scores the next try not only will probably win this game, but also they will receive 5 points from this match rather than the 4. And one is going to be kicked into touch. Let's go the Sharks. You got this. This is supposed to be a win for us, says I Romeo. And it's great for Pacific Rugby, says Return. And well, let's go, says Lilo. And now for next Ulster knock scrum penalty repeat, says Eric. And well, Sharks are so unpredictable. So many superstars in there, says Brian. And yeah, the change of Lorenzo Julius onto the park for Lukanyawam does seem like it could have brought that X factor that they did require. Now line out throw here for the replacement hooker, Tom Stewart, and stolen by the Sharks. Which means that they will now have themselves possession around the halfway line. Big bumper from Pipsi Buthelezi. Jaden Hendrickse again goes across to Andre Esterhuizen. And all momentum at the moment is in the hands of the away side. At 13 and Sasha 10, World Rugby community beware, says Farid. I've heard a lot of roads are windy in New Zealand. How windy are they? That is true. There are a few really windy ones. Up by the Coromandel, half the time you feel like you're about to fall off the road. But it's good fun if you don't. We have there, I think it was a good cast of the fishing rod, says Fleshin. Now on the halfway line at the moment for the Sharks. Backline with Sasha and Julius would be epic, says Rory. Just saying there for 9 to stay onside. Doak tried to go for the charge down, but couldn't quite cover the meters. Werner Cox slaps it back into the side of Ulster. Here's Jacob Stockdale, a man who's been invisible for the last 30 minutes, now charging up the middle of the field. Tries to kick him behind, but cleaned up by Makazole Mapimpi. 19-19 with 7 minutes to go. Ulster, to keep themselves in this comp, need this win. The Sharks, to keep themselves searching for a home semi-final, they also do need the victory. So both of these teams are in a little bit of a tough situation. Kicked high from Jaden Hendrickse. Does manage to kick it down to the halfway line, but doesn't find touch. And now another attacking run, this time from Zach Ward. He breaks through tackles in the 7 circle, and he's broken through 2 right there. Moving up to the 22-metre line here for Ulster. If they can get a penalty advantage, then they would more than likely, I would think, take the 3 here. Jacob Stockdale with a straightening run into Andre Estaes, and Sia Khaleesi shutting down Doak. Beautiful pickup from Vincent Tichuka. Oh, Irish commentator has said there that he felt like there was a knock-on from the Sharks. Big kick in behind. Ulster will be driven back to 5 metres out from their line. And out of all the players to have back there, you wouldn't expect that, man. It was actually, I think, Kieran Treadwell who covered the ground. The Sharks now have got Ulster scrambling only about 10 metres out from their goal line. Congratulations to us who said the Sharks can get back into the game, says Albert. And great turnover for the Sharks, says Rory, and now only 22 metres out from the line. It is going to be another chance here for the Sharks on attack. They could even look for the 3. And I do have to say, out of these two sides, it's definitely Ulster who need the bonus point more. I think Nathan Doak just having a bit of a chat there with the referee. You see there, Werner Koch going up for that ball, managing to slap it back onto the side of Ulster, and then Stockdale, just lightning quick, jumps onto it. Rassi has to pick them evenly. They're young and very talented. Others in the back line are aging, says Rory. Great turnover, Sharks. And also they might hit the pub after the game. South County Douglas, about 4 or 5 doors from my house, says Patrick. That is a very specific address. And that's going to be dropped there by the Sharks, but the ref says it's gone backwards. Mapimpi with a skip pass out to Ethan Hooker. He's going to back himself a pace on the outside, dragged down by the collar by Zach Ward. Now 4.5 minutes left. The replacement Bradley Davids pops it up to Hanro Jacobs, who's had quite the impact as well since making his way onto the park. You go for a try here or just the 3 points? I think if you're the Sharks, you go for the 3 if it's available. I don't think it's worth the risk of looking for the extra bonus point, but then saying that at this stage of the comp, every point is crucial, but how much are they willing to risk? Vincent Tichuka and his brother now qualify for South African citizenship and can feature for the Box. And also another bar called O'Sullivan's across the road, says Patrick. Now 10 metres out from the line, Bradley Davids goes to Andre Estaes, and who runs straight at Treadwell, who's ended up falling the wrong way. The ball is available. Oh, and now gives away the penalty advantage. This is straight out in front of the post here. Feel sorry for He's never been the same after that big injury, and they will go back for the penalty now. Sharks can take 3 and also take the lead at this stage of the match. Apalele Fasi wants to take the quick tap, but I think he will be told to not do that by his teammates. Penalty to the Sharks, says Rory. But now the decision. Do you go for the win or do you go for the bonus point? The thing is, it could actually lead to going for the bonus point and losing here. I think you have to go 3, don't you? But then think about how unsecure their kickoffs have been. They've dropped the ball about 3 times. So if they do that again, that gives Ulster an attacking chance. But they are opting for the 3. A lead with 3 minutes to go in a game is much better than trying for a lead and missing out. Jordan Hendrickse is going to use up as much time as he can. Now, that is a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing if this is the last points of the game. It's a bad thing if Ulster end up scoring quickly and you need a little bit more time to be able to get that lead back. But the score now, 22 points to 19. For the first time in this game, it has taken 77 minutes, but the Sharks have got the lead. And now it all comes down to this last couple of minutes. Okay, final whistle. Let's close the curtains and go home. Says on the right. Unfortunately, that's not quite what they're allowed to do here. They still have to play out that next 2.5. The accuracy of Murphy's kickoff has to be precise. It goes a little bit deep and a bit of a slip there for Emmanuel Tichuka. Bradley Davids grabbing this ball. Does get told to use it. I think this one has to go towards the touchline. It has gone out. And now he's trying to tell the toucher to go a bit further up the field. Wants a few extra metres, and I think he might have got a couple extra too. Touch judge being very generous. And goodbye Ulster, horrible second half from them. Great by the Sharks. And I have to say, like, Ulster would be thoroughly disappointed to lose from here. The question now, once again, if you're Ulster and you get a penalty, do you take the 3 and accept the fact that you're sitting about 11th on the table, or do you have to go for the win with the games away from home remaining? Well, we are up to the 80th minute almost, 90 seconds remaining. Ulster haven't scored this half, They have not, no. Scored the 3 tries in the first. That is as far as it has gone. Jordan Hendrickse trying to hold up Ulster. Now Doak, he's had a good game. Doesn't look like his replacement's going to get much of a crack in this matchup, Dave Shanahan. And I don't think they've actually brought on Aidan Morgan either. Hell, how did the Sharks find a way, come back, and now leading, says Xander? They just stuck in there. I think it's the best way of describing it. A wide cut-out pass, nicely taken on the outside. Here comes Jacob Stockdale. Oh, pass very flat. They've run into touch. Just running out of space on the side. Apalele Fasi. Now 44 seconds left on the clock here. That's probably the hardest decision for Ulster. A proper gamble. And this time they've just decided instead we just run it out. Much easier. This was a pretty gutsy performance from the Sharks. Yeah, a little bit similar to what they had in their game last week up against Edinburgh. Of just sticking in there during the hard times to then be able to find a way to victory. Now, going to be another line out here. And this is one of the most important lineouts for the Sharks in the match. And that is well claimed. Goes across. Oh, everyone leaves it there. The Jordan Hendrickse trying to stall for 15 seconds. Sharks trying to keep the ball. Ulster told to get out of it. I believe there's going to be one last breakdown here. Bradley Davids, he should have probably had to use it before he did. And now, looking for the counter-ruck. About 3 or 4 players in off their feet, but Davids gets it back into the pocket. The Sharks will kick it into touch, and they will beat Ulster with their second away win in a row. Stockdale has been Ulster's best player by miles, but the biggest problem was that 30 minutes when he disappeared, that was where Ulster lost any chance of momentum. So I do think that, we saw him in the last 10 minutes, and they almost got back into it. But you can't afford to go scoreless in a second half of rugby, and the Sharks, they win the game 22 points to 19. A very experienced Shark team should never be, I've been in trouble in this game, says Fleshin. And also nicely done, Sharks, back on the happy South Africans train, says Albert, and good box, says Eric, and also GG's, says The Quick. And also GG's and clean sweep for South African teams this weekend, says Brian. And also yippee, Sharks, congrats, says Marion. And there I would give Ethan Hooker man of the match, says Rory. And also, geez, that game was nerve-wracking, and thanks so much, says Dallin. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. Of course, we will be back next weekend for the Champions Cup semi-finals. We've got the LA Sevens, we've got Super Rugby, got the Under-20 Rugby Championship. I think that's about it, but there might be a couple others scattered in there as well. Plumtree has to go. They just won. Second game in a row that they've been able to get the away win. Yes, it was ugly at times, but a win's a win, and they still build themselves that little bit closer to a home semi-final. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you all for the next one.